Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to call the meeting to order. That's being the special council meeting, Warwick Township Council on February 17th, 2026. Start time 3:30. I'll ask council, does anybody have a disclosure or pecuniary interest or conflict of interest at this time? Seeing none. Also like to welcome everybody who's joining us on the Warwick Township YouTube link. I'm now going to do the acknowledgement of ancestral lands. We acknowledge that the Township of Warwick is located on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, as well as the many Indigenous nations in Ontario, whose footsteps have marked them for centuries. We also wish to acknowledge that we are situated on Treaty 29 and Treaty 25 territories signed by Chippewa chiefs and offer our respect and gratitude for these lands. I'm going to go to number 5 on the agenda, Council, if I could, please. That's Councilor's commitments and items. I'll start with 5A, Councilor Commitment Days. Does anybody have anything they wish to add to the list today? Councilor Morris.
Yeah, I need to change mine from Cuba got canceled. So from March the 2nd to the March 1st to the 10th is canceled, and I'm going to be leaving on March the 6th and back on the 14th.
Thank you very much, Councilor. Anybody else have anything at this time? Okay, as always, if anything changes, please let Trevor know and we'll get it recorded. So thanks for that. I'm going to go to Councilor's items and verbal reports. I'm going to start with you, Councilor Westgate. Do you have anything today?
No, I have nothing today.
Councilor Morris.
I've got a couple things. I got a couple calls. Water running under the old Guide Advocate building at the back, and it's running across the sidewalk and freezing and then running onto the street. Yeah, I know it's been going on for a while, but I think we need to look into it before somebody trips and falls and we have problems. That's the one thing.
Maybe if I could, Councilor Kyle, do you wish to speak to that one? I know you were involved with that.
So recently there was a water main break at that building, and it required pumping down for the last week to get it to be repaired. So if the call was about last week in particular, that was due to a burst pipe, and it should not be repeating itself, but we will talk to the property owner about proper drainage of water from their building.
Another quick item, I got complaints from parking across from Trinity Church on St. Clair Street. The resident that lives directly across the road has built a new garage, which he's entitled to, and he's got his, but then he's left a hole in his fence where he wants to be able to get access. And he's got a truck parked there a lot of the time. I'm wondering if we could get the property standards officer to give us an opinion on what we could maybe do for that parking to keep it, because sometimes it's parallel, sometimes it's like inline parking. So if we could have maybe the property standards officer get back to us on that. Thank you.
Okay. Is that good then?
Yes.
Mr. Dare, we'll take care of that. Very good. Okay, is that all for today, Councilor Morris? Okay, I'm going to go to Councilor Manning. Councilor Manning, do you have anything for today?
I have nothing today, thanks.
Deputy Mayor Kellenberg.
I have nothing today, thank you.
Okay, I've got one item that I'm going to share today. So I just want to give a great big thank you out to everybody who was involved with the storm situation on February 6th and February 7th. I want to thank our public works staff for doing an outstanding job and looking after our roads under very difficult situations. I want to thank our rec department as well for being there to man the ELCC while we had people stranded there overnight and then continuing on the next day. I'd also really like to thank the Watford Optimist Club for the outstanding job they did in actually hosting the center itself. It was done in a very, very professional way, and we can't say thank you enough to the Optimist Club for doing that. They did an outstanding job. So thanks to the Optimist Club for that. Also want to thank our residents. Lots of our residents were involved behind the scenes, pulling vehicles out of ditches and so on during the storm and actually offering shelter to some of the folks that were stranded as well. So thank you very much to those people as well. So again, just a great big thank you to everybody that pitched in. Our staff did an outstanding job. The Optimist Club, just to put it again, in a very matter of fact way, did an outstanding job as well. So thank you to everybody that was involved. And while I'm thanking people, I want to also thank the Watford Optimist Club for putting on an outstanding family day once again yesterday. at the community center. I mean, I heard the crowds. I was there for the first hour and a half and there was a good crowd then, but I hear the crowds were really, really big throughout the day. So thanks again to the Optus Club. And that's all I got for today. So thank you. Okay, let's go to staffing items. Trevor, did you have anything for today?
I have two. I'm going to address one and pass it over to Ryan. The first one is, we were served as part of an action suit by the Ontario Aboriginal Housing Support Services Corporation. They are claiming that all Aboriginal housing is exempt from taxes as of January 1st, 2025. So they're seeking a refund of taxes since that point in time. Their claim is that they are a nonprofit thank you, charitable corporation. I got to trip over that the whole time. So they're seeking on those grounds. So we'll just play it out, and as more information comes, we'll share it accordingly. It doesn't go to court until December of this year.
And we have another item. Ryan, you're taking care of that one? Very good. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Just a quick update that our Parks and Recreation summer student recruitment process is now open and underway. We're looking for up to 6 students to join our team for the summer, responsible for all things parks and recreation, gardens, facilities, parks, grass cutting, trimming, all that good fun stuff between April and August. More information on the role and how to apply can be found on our township website. And the recruitment process is open until the positions are filled. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I just want to back up again. I was doing my thank yous. I forgot about Warwick Fire. I'd also like to thank Warwick Fire for all the efforts that they put forward during the storm event as well. Our Director of Emergency Services, Brad Goodale, and some of his folks. And also I want to thank the OPP too. They came in and did an outstanding job as well. So I just wanted to make sure that I made those comments about those folks as well. They did an outstanding job. Okay, council, we're going to go to number 7. That's our delegation today. We have Alex here, who is our environmental lawyer with Garrett Pickfield, and he has a presentation for us today. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you, Mayor Case.
Very good,
Can you hear
sir. I can, and I'm going to turn the floor over to you right now to make your presentation. Floor is yours.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mayor Case. So I'm here to present on the latest stage of the Waste Management Twin Creeks landfill environmental assessment process. As council will be aware, it's a multi-year process before this application can be decided upon. So just very, very briefly, I'll just remind you as to what's gone on since now. So as council will be familiar with, WM is they're proposing to increase the height and therefore the capacity of the landfill. This does not have to do with fill rate, but rather fill capacity. The township has assembled a peer review team made up of scientists and consultants, and of course, us as the legal team. And we review all of the studies that are being produced as a part of this process. We provide any comments or recommendations, and WM takes a look at that. There's a dialogue with the hope that some of them can be addressed or integrated. So first, WM released terms of reference, which is just what are we going to study? What does this process look like? The PRT, that's the peer review team, provided comments on that. Next up was the existing conditions, just what it sounds like. What do things look like now? We provided comments and recommendations on that. And then was the effects assessment, and they identified alternative methods, just what it sounds like, different ways to accomplish that goal. Again, we provided recommendations on that. So where we are today is WM has released what they call a draft environmental assessment study report. This is sort of the last large report that ties everything together. And they released updated versions of the previous studies / reports. So they were updated to integrate any feedback from the public and any feedback from the peer review team. So our team reviewed all this. First of all, we reviewed the old studies that were updated to see for the things that we recommended and WM said they would change, have they made those changes, right? So did WM follow through on the things they said they would do? And second, there were a few recommendations that our team made that WM said they did not think were appropriate to make. And again, our team reviewed that to say, well, if this change has not been made, is it still an important one, right? Do we still recommend that this change be made? And lastly, our team reviewed of course, the new document, the draft EA study report. So the culmination of all this work is one very long report from the peer review team that provides all of what I've discussed, including some recommendations. The report is lengthy, but you can find a really good summary. I think it's just a really good two-page summary starting on page 25, and council will have that. If you have not had a chance to read it now, I'm going to go through some of the high points, but I would encourage you to read at the very least that summary if you get a chance, because it really pulls together the most important points from the peer review team. So I'll just give you a brief summary of the overall findings. Overall, most of the things that WM said they would update in the old reports have been updated. There's a couple pieces that are missing. My take on that is I think most of them were probably just an oversight, because there's a very long list of things that were considered as a potential to be updated. So hopefully in reviewing our report, WM takes a look at that and, you know, crosses the T or puts a period, or the couple things that we suggested that WM said was a good idea to include. In terms of substantive comments, the first one I think is the most important. It's from our landfill engineer consultant. So he found that the draft EA study report had some contradictory values in different parts of the report. So specifically, some of the calculations related to the landfill's leachate collection piping and the gas collection piping were different in different parts of the report. Now, this is obviously a really important issue because this is critical infrastructure for the landfill. So it could be the case that there's just an explanation for why these numbers are different, or maybe the calculations need to be corrected. I don't know, but our peer review team member said that these are important things that we really need an answer to, right? It's less of a, it would be better if we did this. It's more of this needs to be fixed. And maybe it's just an explanation that we're missing something, but it was for him sort of a critical issue. Two of the disciplines discuss issues with respect to odor and suggest some changes by WM to address complaints or potentially minimize odor impacts. And then the last series of comments came from old reports where we made a recommendation and WM didn't agree to implement that recommendation, but our team is now, you know, doubling down on them and saying, we made this recommendation back then. WM said they weren't going to make that change. They weren't going to follow our recommendation. And our team is saying, again, we want to reiterate, this is an important thing. So there's just, I think I've got 5 bullet points here. For surface water, a few of our team members expressed a concern with elevated total suspended solids in surface water. Just what it sounds like, rainwater falls down. I think typically our theory is on a soils stockpile, takes some of that particulate with it and it carries it in the water. Council will be familiar with this because we've talked about it in the context of the annual reviews. So we have proposed some more assessment of this issue in order to ensure that it is less of an issue in the future. I think 2 of the team members also identified some recommendations with elevated boron levels in surface water. One of the theories as to why there is elevated boron is there is, or perhaps used to be a crushed glass area. Glass can have boron in it, and the theory was that potentially some of the boron came from this glass. And our team said that, yeah, that might be true. If it's true, we have some suggestions as to how to mitigate that. So I think one of our team members recommended removing some of the soil to get rid of any potential boron exceedances. And the other key recommendation from that is they suggested some more study to understand why did these boron levels exist in elevated amounts? Because if we can understand it better, we can prevent it from happening in the future. For ecology, so that's aquatic and terrestrial ecology, so plant and animal life, the big recommendation was that WM has taken a look at the environment now and assessed what will it be like if the landfill expansion proposal is approved. Will there be any changes? And our team is saying that's a good question to ask, but there was a previous environmental assessment on this years ago. So let's look at what the environmental reports said then and also ask that question. So not only what's the difference between now and the future, but let's look at what it looked like in the past before the landfill existed so we can compare that to the present and the future. That's the big recommendation that they made that has not been agreed to by WM, but they again are iterating that that's an important one for them. For air quality, the big one is a recommendation to implement real-time dust monitoring, which is something that council again will be familiar with because this is something that the TRT has recommended in many annual reviews for many years now. And it was deemed appropriate to reassess that question as part of this this expansion proposal. WM is not required to use real-time dust monitoring. So in the annual review process, the response is, well, we know that's not part of our mandate to do this, but it might be worth something considering in the expansion proposal, which is why we're looking at it now, which is why our team has recommended it now. And WM has not agreed firmly to implement this, and we think that it's a really helpful tool to implement to assess not only instantly when are there any potential dust exceedances, but also pinpoint where they are, right? If you can find out when an issue is happening instantly, makes it a lot easier to find out what could the potential source be. And just for the sake of argument, a common source of dust is kick up from roads, right? So if you're driving along a road that isn't watered, it can kick up dust. It could be quite easy for WM to say, oh, there's a bit more dust in the air. Let's just add some water to those roads and that'll mitigate any dust. So that's the reason that this is an important recommendation from our team. Two more. For noise, the PRT recommends considering noise impacts from the haul route, which isn't currently considered. And on cemetery, the cemetery and on businesses. So typically noise assessments are done considering sensitive receptors like residential homes. And our team is saying that's good, and you are doing that. But given the landfill's proximity to the cemetery and some businesses, we think it would also be appropriate to assess whether there's noise impacts on those, even though they're not typically considered, quote unquote, sensitive receptors. The last one is on transportation. Our team is recommending that the township and WM consider entering into a haul route agreement, which would restrict site-based access to the north and Highway 402. The landfill is not proposing, of course, to run any traffic through Watford, but this type of agreement would memorialize that. So those are the high-level comments. There are, of course, many more, but otherwise we'd be here for an hour, and I'd read you a list of 50 or 80 comments. But I wanted to provide you some of the most important ones from each discipline. In terms of next steps, first of all, I'm happy to answer any questions on that in a moment. Just describe in terms of next steps, we recommend providing this report in draft to WM, and we created tracking sheets with all the recommendations. That will allow WM to review all of our technical recommendations. The consultants from our side and WM can meet to discuss and hopefully come to an agreement as to whether any changes need to be made and how they can be made. Following that, we would come back to council with an updated report that would update council on the status of the recommendations after WM has had a chance to take a look through our recommendations and decide what their response will be. So I have a proposed resolution, but perhaps it might make sense to open myself up to questions before that. I'm in your hands, Mayor Case, on that regard.
Sure. Well, thank you for the presentation, Alex. I will open it up for questions. Does anybody on council have any questions for Alex at this particular time? No, seeing none. Alex, you must have captured it. So
Okay.
let's move on to the proposed resolution. Maybe you could give a little piece on that, and we can maybe read the resolution and council can consider it.
Sure, thank you. So the resolution was provided in the agenda. I'll read it out for you. The proposed resolution is, be it resolved that the draft report and recommendations of the Township of Warwick peer review team with respect to the draft environmental assessment study report and updated existing conditions and effects assessment reports for the Waste Management of Canada Corporation proposed landfill optimization project environmental assessment be received by Township Council for information purposes, and that Township staff be directed to provide this draft report to WM along with the recommendations tracking table for WM's response, and that Township staff be directed to bring forward the final PRT report and recommendations together with Waste Management's responses to these recommendations at a future council meeting when the WM response is available for final council direction.
All right, well, thank you, Alex. How does council wish to deal with the recommended resolution today? Deputy Mayor Kallenberg?
I'll move.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Kallenberg, seconded by Councillor Morris. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Is there anything else you want to add today, Alex, before we cut you loose?
No, that's it. Thank you, Mayor Case and members of council.
Councillor Morris, please put your microphone on. Perfect.
Alex, I tried to call Tony to ask some questions about odor and I couldn't get a response back. Could you maybe give him a heads up that I'd like to talk to him?
Certainly, yeah. You're welcome to send me an email if you want, and I can flip it to him to make sure you have the right email address. I know that he's
Okay.
on vacation right now, so that might be why he hasn't responded quickly.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Councillor Morris. Anybody else got anything before we cut Alex loose? Okay, well, thank you, Alex. We appreciate it. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much. Good to see you.
Take care.
There are no staff reports today.
No staff reports today. Thank you. Is there any new business for council today, council? Nope, seeing none. Okay. All right, so that's going to conclude the open session for today's meeting. I'm going to ask for a motion to move into an in-camera meeting of council pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001 to deal with number 2 and 4 of the Municipal Act. Councillor Manning is making that motion, seconded by Councillor Westgate. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you.